Turn on your sound, turn on your sound, turn on your sound. Hi everybody, Camille here from Paleo Kitchen TV. I just realized I have some brownie in my teeth. I made brownies with tiger's nut flour and cassava flour on New Year's Eve, and I just ate a little bite, and I just saw them in my teeth when I was going live. But oh well. Anyway, Happy New Year. We are here. It is a new year, and I love the new year. I always feel like anything is possible during the new year, that it really is a time to start fresh. And so I'm very excited for, I wouldn't call it my New Year's resolutions because I don't typically do very well with New Year's resolutions, but it is always a good time for me to rest and reset. If this is the first time you're joining us, let me know where you were joining us from. Say hello in the comments. Even if it's not your first time joining us, just say hello. I would love to know who's here. And I would also love to know what you're taking on for the new year. Now we're January 2nd, and we've had some time to think about it in the cold of December as we're sitting in our homes. I mean, I live in Hawaii, so I guess it's not very cold, but I have had a lot of time to reflect. And I would love to know what you're gonna do in the new year, what you're gonna change, what you wanna create. And one of the main things I committed to doing in the new year was these, actually, doing more Facebook Lives. I'm not planning on doing a fancy TV show like Camille's Paleo Kitchen anytime soon, but I don't want that to keep me from continuing to teach and share and inspire you to live a great life. So here I am doing one of my sort of New Year's resolutions with you right here. We are going to be doing two things today. One is I'm going to be showing you how to make a variation of a turmeric superfood latte. I have one that many of you have probably seen on my website or come through your Facebook feed. It's a turmeric golden milk that has been one of my most popular recipes ever. And I was realizing I was actually going to make that recipe today, and I was realizing I actually did not have all of those ingredients, but then I thought, well, it's probably better that I show them another way to make it. And there are multiple ways to make it. The main ingredients, I'll run through the ingredients right now. Let's just pull this all out so you can see my very fancy. So what I have here is some knobs of turmeric, a knob of ginger, and then I've got my coconut oil. I've got some grass-fed ghee that I made from Kerrygold butter over the weekend. I've got a couple different sweetener options. Here's some xylitol. I also have raw honey and some vanilla. And these are going to be, I have my water boiling right now on the stove. And I am going to show you another version of this drink that is really, really amazing. So, and then if you click there is in the description, there is the original recipe that I make with turmeric ghee. That's made with a powdered turmeric, and it's made with coconut and cashew milk. But I'm doing it a little bit differently because I have different ingredients today. So I just want to give you a couple options. Again, if this is if you're just joining us, this is Camille from Paleo Kitchen TV, and I'm about to show you how to make a really delicious and super healthy turmeric latte, turmeric ginger latte. So I'm going to pull this back down here and show you what to do with if you have fresh turmeric. If you have turmeric root, that's fine too. But I'm taking the back of a spoon right here, and I'm just scraping down the skin off of the outside, which you don't really have to do, but I am. And I like this better than a veggie peeler because a veggie peeler tends to take a lot of the good stuff away. See, this just takes out the very outside, so it seems more efficient. So I'm going to do that with these pieces here, and I'm just gonna pull all the way around. And so turmeric, many of you probably know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Turmeric is incredibly anti-inflammatory. There have been some really interesting studies actually that have been done on Indian civilizations because they use turmeric is one of the main components of curry. That's what gives curry its orange flavor. And in India, where they're eating turmeric like multiple times a day, until they started getting, you know, like American fast food and whatnot, there was almost no incidence of Alzheimer's or dementia in India. Isn't that amazing? I mean, there's been a fair number of studies that have come through now about turmeric and how amazing it is to keep the plaque off of your brain. In general, turmeric is just, I mean, I'm not going to do all of these. It's just incredibly anti-inflammatory. One thing to know, I'll come back up here. One thing to know when you are using turmeric, though, is it's really important to incorporate fat and also black pepper because that activates the main, the compounds. So I am, of course, I have the ghee and the coconut oil, but I also use Pure Indian Foods has a turmeric super ghee. That's the one I used in the recipe that's in the link. And they put the black pepper directly with the ghee, which is the fat, and the turmeric, and it's a really delicious product. So I'm going to do the same thing with the ginger right here. Ginger also incredibly anti-inflammatory. Sorry, this way. And I'm just scraping the outside here. And I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to do the same thing. And one thing, you know, there's a lot of talk. There's all of these buzzwords that are going around the paleo community. You know, like turmeric has become a super popular thing for people to, you know, to supplement and whatnot. Inflammation is a big buzzword. But I wanted to just talk for a minute about inflammation, about why it's so dangerous, and why things like turmeric and ginger are so supportive, and why the paleo diet in general is so supportive for healing inflammation. So it is believed by most functional medicine practitioners and, you know, people who are really studying health that that inflammation is, here it is, all finished. This is probably enough. I don't want it to be too super gingery. This is a pretty good sized nub of ginger, and then my turmeric. I'm just going to give it a rough cut. If you have a food processor, you could just throw it all in a food processor. But I'm just going to give this a cut now, and then I have my water that I'm just waiting to boil. And once that does so, I'm just going to let these steep for, normally I would probably do it for about 10 minutes, but after they've steeped, then I'm going to add in my fat, I'm going to add in a little bit of sweetener, and then I'm going to blend it all up in the Vitamix, and then I'm going to strain it before we drink it. So there are a bunch of different ways to make this recipe. Really, the most important thing is to get a good source of turmeric, whether it be fresh turmeric like I'm using or like a really high quality turmeric. One thing that I learned from Sandeep from Pure Indian Foods is that a lot of the world's turmeric supply is actually contaminated with heavy metals because it's a root. It grows in the ground, and whatever happens to be in the ground around where that turmeric is growing, the turmeric will pull it in. And so you don't want to buy super cheap. You don't want to buy super cheap turmeric. Pure Indian Foods does sell a very high quality turmeric powder, and you can find the link for their stuff through that link that I shared in the description. So anyway, so we're talking about inflammation. I want to talk with you guys about brain health. as we're doing this. So here I've got my blender, and I'm just dropping all this in right here. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm not a doctor, but I can try to answer some questions for you. I'm gonna wash my hands. That a lot of why people are so sick is because they have chronic inflammation in their body. And inflammation, addressing inflammation is, in my belief, one of the most important things we can do to have health. Now, where you have inflammation is, it can manifest in all different parts of your body. So I told you guys I want to talk with you a little bit about brain health today, and some of my own things that I've journeyed and struggled with. My family has a history of brain imbalance. Another way of saying that is we have a history of rampant brain inflammation. My mom is bipolar. It has been a very, very difficult road with her. My brother and I both have definitely dealt with depression at different times in our lives. And one of the things that I have learned is that healing inflammation is going to be the very best thing that I can do from a health perspective to keep my brain balanced. And certainly that is an oversimplification, but we know now that the gut and the brain are very, very connected. So if you've heard of like leaky gut, for example, leaky gut is the walls of your intestines basically opening up, becoming more porous than they should be, and becoming incredibly inflamed, and then allowing particles that should be inside of you digesting out into your body, and then your body has an immune response to that. And so there's a lot of different illnesses that come from that, like skin issues and food allergies and all kinds of things. But depression, what they really say is that depression, brain imbalance, all of that starts in the gut, which means that anything that we can do to heal and seal the gut and to calm inflammation down in our body is going to have strong positive effects on your brain health. And so a drink like this is really, really powerful. Now, so there's a couple sides of it. There's one is getting more anti-inflammatory foods into your diet, and the other is getting the inflammatory foods out of your diet. I suspect that you probably know what many of those foods are: the gluten, the dairy, the refined food, the sugar, all the things that we know aren't good for us. And when you eat a paleo diet, you're naturally going to be cutting out those inflammatory foods and boosting the anti-inflammatory foods, like things like this. So there is and I'm going to be talking about this all month. Starting tomorrow, you can sign up to start watching this series called Broken Brain. Mark Hyman is hosting it. I was able to watch it I got like an advanced screening, and I've been watching it over the last couple weeks over the holidays. And I've been reminded about a lot of these things, about the connection between your gut health and your brain health, and the importance of stripping your body of inflammation so that the symptoms you're feeling, whether it be brain symptoms or autoimmune disease or gut issues, those things all, oh, here comes my water. Okay, so I got my water. Now I'm just gonna pour, I had a fair amount of ginger and turmeric, but I also wanna make it pretty potent. So look at that already. That's only been in the water for just a couple seconds. I'm gonna let this just marinate for a couple minutes. I am gonna be blending it, which is gonna help to like really get it all, but I'm gonna just let that do its thing. I'm gonna get some pepper, because we know we need our pepper. And I'm gonna grind my pepper directly into this right now. But so anyway, so I've been watching this Broken Brain series, and it's so funny because, you know, I've been doing this health thing for so many years now. I started my own health journey over a decade ago, and I've been paleo for over 5 years, but it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to forget all of these things that, that I think that I know about health, and remembering that inflammation is really at the root cause of our issues. And the more we can do day in and day out with a healthy diet, eating paleo, and keeping out the inflammatory foods, your whole body is going to thank you. I know for me, I was a little bit, I was pretty off track with my paleo diet, like in November and December. And you guys probably have heard me talk now at this point about how sick I got in December. I had a sinus infection and ear infection. I still actually can't hear very well. But my body did a pretty major reset. All I ate was bone broth and bone broth soups and teas and stuff for a while. And it's always so great when you're sick, you lose weight. But what I remembered, I'm like, wow, my body looks so thin. And it wasn't really because I was losing so much weight. It was because the inflammation was stripping out of my body. And I was like getting out whatever my body needed to get out and being sick. But the inflammation, that's one thing that people always report when they first start doing paleo. Within just a couple days, everything is sort of trimmer and nicer, not because you've done all of this work to lose weight, but because the inflammation is coming out of your body. And then the water weight that goes along, because the water is there to basically to help to cool the inflammation. So as you are stripping the inflammation out of your body, that water starts to go with it. Everything looks leaner. Your body looks better, even if you haven't done anything. So anyway, getting back to it. Here we have our steeping goodness right here. To that, I am now going to add my healthy fat. Now that is another thing, especially as we are getting into talking about brain health. I used to eat a low-fat diet. I think a lot of us did back in the days. I remember being in college, eating snack wells and low-fat everything and doing hours and hours of aerobic activity and wondering why I wasn't losing weight. And now we know better. Now we know that healthy fat is incredibly important. Healthy fat is incredibly important for your brain. And if you are someone who is dealing with or have a child who is dealing with bipolar, autism, ADD, ADHD, just the gamut of brain illnesses, eating a lot of healthy fat in combination with other highly anti-inflammatory foods like turmeric is incredibly supportive for your brain. So I am going to take, so it looks like what I have here is about 2 servings. Yeah, it's going to be about 2 servings. And I am going to add in a nice little, a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil. And then I'm also going to do like a nice little scoop of my grass-fed ghee. Maybe a little bit more. We've got our pepper in there. I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla. You could add some cinnamon in there. Cinnamon is really good for balancing blood sugar. So if you're doing keto, you're probably not going to want to add in the raw honey. But you could do something like, you could do xylitol, you could do any of the sugar alcohols, you can do stevia. But I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use raw honey today. Just add a little scoop of this right here. And then, so right now, it doesn't look like anything special, right? But now I'm going to find, and because this is hot, you need to make sure when you're blending that you have a place for your heat to escape. Where is my blender top? I don't even know where my blender top is. I'm just going to use a paper towel. Look at that color. It's actually a lot prettier even than it looks in the camera right here. But so now, oh my gosh, the color, guys, seriously, the color is amazing. Wire strainer. I got my cup, and I'm just going to strain this through. I think this still has some good stuff left in it, so even after I drink this, I'll probably do another little batch. But there we have, look at that. So good. Our, I'm gonna put a little bit more honey. It's really nice though. The ginger definitely makes it a little spicy, but then the fats make it nice and creamy without it actually having any dairy. And I know for most of you are probably having a bit of a cold winter right now. This is a really nice thing to drink before you go to bed at night. When you wake up in the morning, you can replace your coffee. You can do all different combinations. You could use your favorite nut milk. You can use powdered turmeric and ginger, as I said. It's just important to make sure you get some healthy fat in there and to get as much turmeric in there as you can. So I just want to, I told you guys I was going to tell you a little bit more about, hi Louise, yes it is yum. Just some of the things that I have battled with in terms of depression and how much I have been supported by eating a paleo diet. So, and not just paleo, of course, there's other things, but depression and brain issues are one of those things that to me seem really taboo because it can be very isolating, if you're dealing with just not feeling very good, having sad, depressed thoughts. I know for me, I used to just lay in bed for like days and weeks at a time when things got really bad. I would go to work and that's what I would do. I would go to work, I would come home and I would lay in bed. And my body was very inflamed at that time. I was already a private chef. I was already eating pretty healthy, but I ate a fair amount of gluten. I ate a fair amount of dairy. I drank some and I just, and I still had a lot of things that I had not worked out from my childhood. Well, it's weird to talk about this. I've actually never talked about this before, beyond just my close friends, because I really thought that there was something like really wrong with me. And I think that's one of the tricks that depression plays on you is that, I'm alone. Nobody else deals with this stuff. Everybody else's life is great. Now, it's even worse with social media and everybody, posting their highlight reel every day. But this was even really before the very popular days of social media. But I really just thought there was something broken about me. I thought that I just didn't think that I was okay, and I didn't think that I could be okay. And one of the things that really helped me, this is not food related, but I went and did a program that I was really pretty desperate at this point. The catalyst for a lot of this was I had been working on this business called Recipe RX. It was a software that was really cool, and I had dumped probably $100,000 in it. I think I was in my mid-20s at that time. I was really pretty stupid about business. Not that I'm so smart now, but smarter. I put a lot of money into this business. I'd already gone through bankruptcy, and it was not going well. And I knew it was something that had a lot of promise. I had given all of myself to it, and it just wasn't working. And I was just to the point where I was exhausted. I was working way too hard. I was not taking care of myself. I was eating super inflammatory foods. I was beating myself up about not being able to figure it out. And I was in a spiral of depression. And I ended up actually doing this program called Landmark Education, which I knew nothing about, but somebody told me about it, and I was desperate, so I did it. And that was incredibly helpful for me. I ended up doing a bunch of their programs, and now I'm not saying that they are the only one. There's a lot of different personal transformation programs that you can do, but it was really, really helpful for me to begin to understand that just because I thought something didn't make it true, and that I was running a lot of tapes in my head over and over again that were not supportive for me, that had been trained since childhood, growing up with not very functional parents who fought a lot. I grew up very poor. And, kids are very, we are very much molded by our early childhood. And I had been part of a church for a while, and having a relationship with God had helped. It definitely had helped some, but it had not helped completely. And so that was another thing that I did that was very helpful for me in breaking free of depression. But paleo, since that's mostly what we're here talking about, paleo has been very, very, very helpful for me. And I notice now that when I go too long there's a couple things, without getting outside and moving my body, getting into the sun, and eating an anti-inflammatory diet, and being too stressed. If I just get too stressed with work, all of those things will set me up to feel depressed. And but now it's very different. My relationship with depression it's very different, because I don't take it so personally anymore, like there's something wrong or bad about me. It's understanding now that I'm inside of an environment that is not pulling towards my well-being, and what can I do to get back to that? Actually, being sick this last month has really helped to reset me as well, because I was working really, really hard. I was not eating horribly, but I wasn't eating great. I was not getting outside enough. And I was I had stress and tension and anxiety that was just staying with me. And all of those things were cascading into that. And so, so cleaning my diet back up again, getting the dairy is really the biggest one for me, making sure that I'm getting outside into the sun every day. Thankfully, I live in a place where we have sun, but you can get high quality vitamin D supplementation, and just making sure that you're eating a nutrient dense diet. All of those things really make a difference. And there's more. There's so much more. We've already gone over on this Facebook Live today, but I do want to tell you, I'm reminded of a lot of this because I've been watching Mark Hyman's Broken Brain docuseries, and I've known about it. I've known that it's coming. I've been excited to promote it I learned about it, I think, in November, and I'm so excited for you guys to watch it with me. It really is blowing my mind. I've been watching it over like the last 6 days, and just remembering inflammation, remembering the link between healing your gut and healing your brain, remembering my bone broth is so good. I have a pot of bone broth on the stove right now. Hi, Wendy. It's been excellent for me to watch and remember, and to also learn new things. So I'm not allowed to share the link until tomorrow, but if you click to get the link, okay, bye, Louise. Thanks for stopping by. But if you click to get the recipe in the description above, I will send you the link to the Broken Brain documentary as soon as I get it. I've been super nervous now that I'm a mom. I think a lot more just about myself and my future and keeping myself happy. I'm not so concerned about bipolar. I think if I was going to be bipolar like my mom is, we would already know that. But Alzheimer's, dementia, those things run on both my side of the family and Craig's side of the family. And so for us to make sure that we are doing what we can to keep our bodies healthy, so that we are not growing old and forgetting ourselves and our children, that's become really, really important to me now. And Broken Brain is going to talk all about that. It's so heartbreaking to see how wrong Western medicine has gotten brain dysfunction. I see, like, my mom was in a mental institution when I was pregnant with Orion, and I mean, the tools that they have at that level to help people with mental illness are really, they're pathetic. They are, it's pharmaceutical drugs, which at best are a Band-Aid, and at worst do nothing. For my mom, my mom almost died having been on antipsychotics. She's very small, and I didn't think that she was going to make through being in the mental institution, but nobody's talking to her about her gut health. Nobody's talking to her about nutrition. Nobody's talking to her about the fact that she doesn't sleep. And when she doesn't sleep, sleep is so important. That's one thing that's been really great about living on Maui, is that our sleep here is really improved. But anyway, it is an epidemic in our society of people who have some sort of brain illness. And it doesn't have to be that way. As I've been watching this documentary, I'm remembering why food is so powerful. I'm remembering why paleo is so powerful. I'm remembering that the body is so capable of healing itself when given the right environment. And I'm super inspired. I'm inspired by how many people are going to watch this and have the tools to either take to their doctors or to hire a functional medicine doctor, just to try something new to help to support their brain health. It is, I think it's probably the largest epidemic of sickness that we are dealing with right now, because it is affecting people in every walk of life. Children with autism and ADHD who are already on medications, kids in high school who are committing suicide and are incredibly depressed. I mean, all through life, people are now susceptible to brain diseases that were not a thing before the advent of all of this disgusting food that we eat. And I'm sure the technology doesn't help much either. But anyway, I don't want to ramble too much, but I am really excited for you to watch this docuseries along with me. I'm only about a quarter of the way through. It's going to be running most of the month of January, and I will send you a link as soon as I can give it to you tomorrow. And just remember, if you take anything with you from this Facebook Live today, it's two things, or maybe three. One is get the inflammatory food out of your diet. That means eat paleo and, still try not to eat too many of the paleo sweet things, but fortify your diet with healthy fats and things like turmeric and ginger. Excellent to pull inflammation out of your body and to support your brain. And if you are dealing with issues with your brain, please don't suffer in silence. It isn't personal. I know that it feels like you're the only one and everybody else is hunky-dory, but depression and sadness and all of that impacts more people than is reported, because so many people do suffer in silence, and you don't need to go through this alone. There's going to be a lot more information in Broken Brain. I'm excited for you to watch it with me. I'm going to hop off, but if before I leave, anybody has any last questions, let me know. I don't have an official recipe for this one. The other recipe is in the link in the description above. But yeah, get more of these things into your diet. I hope that this was helpful for you today. I'm happy that I was able to share some of my story with you. And I will be back on Thursday. So Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern is when I'll be going live. Typically, I'll be doing a solo day on Tuesdays, doing a recipe, and typically on Thursdays, I'll be doing an interview. I can't remember what I have lined up for this Thursday, but next Thursday, I have an interview with a woman who runs Toolbox Genomics, which is a way of analyzing your 23andMe genetic testing results. I got my 23andMe test done about a year ago, and the results were not very helpful. But this program is excellent. I'm going to talk with you guys all about it and all of the things that I learned about my unique genetics. One of them is that I am prone to inflammation, and that inflammation manifests a lot of times in the brain. So things like this. There's a lot of cool things we learned. We'll be talking all about that next time. And yep, if you want to be notified when we go live, there is a link also in the description. So thank you for being with me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.